Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. Get ready to ramp up your songwriting. Hey everybody, John here for the Song Revolution podcast. We have a great show for you today. My sweet friend Galen Crew is here today. Really excited to share his story, talk about his production. This is a guy that's gone viral in China. If you go viral in China, that's a big deal. Hundreds of millions of streams of his wonderful songs. We're going to talk all about that, some of his work, his inspiration behind his music. And as always, go check everything out at Nashville-raised.com, where we have all that you need to fulfill your calling, we believe, to write great songs for Jesus. So thanks for being here today. Everybody, please welcome Galen Crew. Hi, Galen.
Hey, man. It's so good to be here.
Welcome, buddy.
Thanks for having me, John.
It's kind of been a long time
awesome.
coming. I mean, we met a number of years back at church.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of mutual friends and acquaintances, and we don't go to the same church anymore, but I've always just really respected you, knowing some of your music and just, you know, what's been happening in your life. So good to have you here today.
Oh, man, so good to be here. And likewise, like you're kind of a legend, so.
In my own mind, anyway.
No, I feel really grateful to be here and talk to you. That's a good day.
Thanks, buddy. Well, tell us how you got to Nashville. Are you from here? Kind of, what was your journey into Music City, USA?
Yeah, so I wasn't born here. I was born in New Jersey. I don't like to talk about that. No, sorry, if you're from New Jersey, it's fine. But I'm more of a Tennessee guy. So I grew up in Franklin.
Okay.
My family moved us down when I was a kid. So, I mean, my childhood, everything, I was a Franklin kid.
Okay.
So I didn't move here for music. I was kind of already immersed in it. And I can remember there was an apartment complex that we lived in Franklin at one point when I was like in middle school. And I can remember the guys from DC Talk. They had a friend that lived there,
Yeah.
and they were at the pool that I was at one day. I
That's
just like,
cool.
I was like hanging out with the guys from DC Talk, and they were like, I remember Tate was throwing a football, and I was like jumping into the water and catching it. And I was like 11.
That's crazy.
So I feel like the whole Christian music world, I was kind of in close proximity to it and didn't have to like move here to try to meet people. I just grew
That's
up
so
in
cool.
it.
Do you think that's kind of unusual, or because so many people move
for
here,
that.
you know, as well as I do. Every wait staff person you meet, you know, every Uber driver is an aspiring songwriter of some kind. Do you feel like it's unusual to have homegrown talent?
Yeah, I think, and I'm probably would have been one of those people if I hadn't moved here as a kid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say it's probably the exception.
Mm-hmm.
Meeting people in music here that grew up here, it does seem to be the exception. But in the end, I was thankful because it wasn't a huge life change for me to kind of slide in and start, working as a musician as my job. Just this was my home and my family's here, so yeah,
That's amazing.
So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, so you're married and have a little girl?
Yeah,
2
that's
years
right.
old?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my daughter just turned 2. Yeah,
Isn't that fun?
I love it. It's wonderful. She's talking a lot, and yeah, it's
Don't blink, buddy. Just don't blink. Our daughter is almost 32. Yeah, so it's crazy. It just goes by so fast. It's a lifetime.
Everybody says that, and then I'm realizing it's because it's true.
It's true. All those sleepless nights, if you're still having those, and
better now.
Yeah, sleeping through the night. Well, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And your daughter too, not just your wife.
Oh, right. Yeah. Everybody's sleeping now until we have another one.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
It's just,
like you're just going crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what was your musical upbringing? Because your music, as we're going to talk about in a few minutes, is really a little bit, I mean, not say unusual, just your themes and kind of how you go about it. What, how did you know you were drawn into music, and what was some of your early musical training?
Yeah, I mean, so my granddad was a jazz musician in Manhattan, and I think I got the musical gene or sensibility from him. So very different musical lane than anything that I was interested in, but I think that natural ability might have come from him. My parents aren't musical at all, like zero.
Skipped a generation.
Just, zero. They're very supportive, but so I think from an early age I realized I had that natural affinity for it, but I was just kind of goofing off on like clarinet and keys and stuff, and just never really taking it that seriously until I picked up a guitar. And right around the time I picked up a guitar, my parents got divorced, and for me that divorce and like your family kind of imploding and just as a kid, I was like 10 at this time, that was so emotionally jarring that I think it pushed me more towards music as like an outlet and as a release. So me learning the guitar kind of coincided with that, the parents getting divorced, family splitting up, and I started writing. And I think that's where I realized what music could be.
Even at 10?
Yeah.
Even at 10?
10,
wow.
11, I was writing songs. And they were all kind of this, processing emotions and trying to make sense of it.
Do you remember any of them?
I do, yeah. There was a song.
Sing one?
Oh, I don't know if I can sing it, but there was a song I wrote called "Still Got You," which was like, I'm like in 6th grade, and it was about if everybody else leaves or if I can't count on any person, I can still count on you, as in the Lord, like to be with me, to be my friend. Wow. And so I look back at that as like, I'm kind of still the same now, maybe just a little bit more mature in how to use the music as a tool and as a craft. But that point of connection and meaning was like, you're processing things, trying to turn it into something meaningful, maybe even something encouraging that helps you, be productive and helps you kind of get this out, and it's healthy, but then encourages other people too who maybe don't have the ability to express, what they're going through in writing. Yeah. So I look back at that as like, okay, that's where it started.
Well, can you sing "Still Got You," the chorus?
Honestly, I haven't even thought about it in years. Well, let's come back to that maybe. I don't know if I remember it. Yeah. It probably wasn't that good, so probably not even worth hearing.
Well, I was an aspiring poet in grade school, and I remember writing a whole collection of poems in the 5th grade, and it was called Poems of the City Works, whatever that even means.
Sophisticated.
And it was very sophisticated, and my lead poem was Dream of the Star-Spangled Cauliflower.
My goodness.
I know. I was a little psychedelic. I mean, this was the 60s. This was the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Explosions of art and expression. Yeah.
It was something. Yeah.
Wow.
So I understand, what it feels like to be a kid and feel some very deep and heavy things. My parents were not divorced. They were married for life. And yet we experienced our own kind of brokenness in the explosion of the sexual revolution and drugs. And it was easier for me to get pot every day than ever drink. We couldn't get alcohol, but we could get pills, and weed was just abundant.
Available.
Yeah.
Wow, no kidding.
And so my childhood was pretty dark. I was describing my daughter that I mentioned a while ago. She was probably in 10th, 11th grade, and she was asking me about my childhood. And her eyes got bigger and bigger, and she said, "Oh my God, Daddy, you were an emo goth." But anyway, I didn't mean to make it about me all of a sudden.
No, I love that. Now I want to know more.
But I mean, there's a little dark side there in the childhood, but it was writing for me, even poetry. I wasn't writing songs then; that came much later, but there was a sense of catharsis, and it sounds like that's what you were doing with Still Got You, kind of holding on to a thread of your own hope and maybe your own sanity in some ways. And
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of reaching for some source of stability.
Right.
And if you experience that at a young age, you're likely to hold on to it.
So many people I talk to, people that are looking into what we do here at NCS, and they're looking at our coaching programs. And I talk to a lot of aspiring writers, and they'll say, well, I started writing when I was blank years old. Mm-hmm. And, now you've done that. I talked about my experience. And so it must be or maybe I'll ask it, I mean, do you think it's more of a common thing that we first feel touched artistically as children?
That's a good question. I mean, probably yes. And I would say it's preferable in some ways to have that interest and exposure and start trying your hand at something like that early on than trying to start later. Of course, I only know it that way, having started really early. But there's something about not learning through somebody even like teaching you, like
early piano or
right, or just like figuring it out as a kid when you're free enough to try stuff and take risks. And if that's how you're stepping into songwriting, that's not a bad way to get there, I think,
Yeah, that's awesome. So you moved from your beginning cathartic writing around 10 or so because of your parents' divorce into having a rock band in high school.
That's right. Yeah, man. Yeah, I did your research.
Yeah, a little bit.
Shout out Sarah. Yeah, we've wiped it online. It's just gone.
It's still on Wikipedia.
We can still talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's any recordings available, thankfully. No, but yeah, it was like a hard rock. I mean, in the mid 2000s, when like hard rock was kind of that's what we were doing. It was like a Christian rock band,
just here in the Nashville area.
And I mean, we played shows around town, and during this time I was just the main songwriter and the guitar player.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't singing, and eventually I found my voice. That's kind of its own story, but I'm not wired as like the guy who, like a front man.
No?
Not me.
No.
I don't even enjoy performing. I don't like it. I have to really kind of psych myself up to get on stage. It's like my comfort zone is the studio and, writing, creating, producing, that kind of stuff. So I always liked being the guy, guitar player, write the songs, kind of the creative mind behind it, but I didn't want to be singing in front of people,
Yeah.
I didn't want the focus on me. So that was a big part of my journey, eventually realizing when I had certain ideas for my solo stuff, kind of around college, and then that's where I was like, I think I'm gonna have to sing this if I want this to come to life.
Yeah.
But I'm not wired that way.
That's so true. I mean, just for a side note here, we have been pretty much forced, and I'll say it that way, into developing our own artists here at Nashville Christian Songwriters because it's so hard to go get Lauren Daigle. Lauren Daigle won't take my calls and let me go pitch songs to her, right? And so people that are avidly writing songs, I mean, we've wound up developing artists because somebody's got to go champion those songs, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard in a lot of ways to just be a writer that sits at home dreaming of Lauren or Toby Mac or somebody doing
singing
your
their song.
Yeah, so you felt like you had to go out and champion these songs.
Totally. Yeah, and and that brought out I had to tap into certain things, like just even, maybe it sounds silly to some people, but to me, I had to be like brave to do that. And maybe that doesn't sound silly. Because I think those insecurities sometimes will squash a creative idea or vision real early. So the journey of battling your own insecurities to even let the thing come to life, when, like you said, maybe it's not going to come to life through another voice. It might have to be you.
Right.
And are you willing to take those steps? So I was kind of wrestling with that at 18, 19. That's when I was realizing like, I'm going to try the solo artist thing, but it was terrifying. I can remember my first show, I was just petrified, like, I got to sing and, just so nervous, but it's okay. Learning to fight those fears while you're making art is, puts some oomph behind what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and could you imagine where you'd be now, way back then, when you were wrestling with even stepping out to do it at all?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. You have to have faith to believe, like, especially if you feel some prodding from the Lord, like it's actually obedience for you to step out and do this.
Right.
Then, you don't know what it's going to look like. But you just got to to do it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Obedience is the key, isn't it? It really is. So you stepped out into your solo career in 2011 and started writing with Roger Cook. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this is a cool story. So the granddad I told you about, he's no longer with us now, but at the time he was on a flight from New York City to Nashville, and he sat next to Roger Cook. And so these two guys are, about the same age, kind of same.
And he was
generation.
a UK.
Roger, yeah,
Yes.
Roger's British, yeah, exactly. So he's the only British. I hope I'm not wrong in saying this, but if he's not the only one, he's one of the only British songwriters in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. So he's a legend in his own right. He wrote I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing for Coca-Cola in the 70s, and I think he's had 12 number ones or something like that. So my granddad didn't know this initially, but he just sat next to him, and they were just vibing with each other, just making jokes and stuff. And at some point in the flight, my granddad goes, "Well, I've got a grandson that's kind of starting to do music," and I'm sure Roger's rolling his eyes,
right?
"Oh no,
here we go,
really?
Here we go, not this guy."
Exactly, and but something made Roger take my granddad at his word and go, "All right, when I get to Nashville, I'll give you a call and I'll come meet your grandson."
And he did.
And he did. He came to my house, and I remember talking to him, and I remember before he came over, my granddad was like, "Hey, look up Roger Cook. He's going to come over to meet you tomorrow." And I Googled him, and I was like, "Whoa.
Cook Pest Control? What? Yeah. What's he coming over?"
I mean, at this point, I wasn't working with anyone of this notoriety. So, I mean, he was working with George Martin at the same time the Beatles were.
Wow.
They would pass each other coming in and out of the studio. So just already the richness of experience and just the wealth of knowledge. I just want to talk to him, But then we met, and I gave him a little. This is back when CDs were not obsolete, but I gave him a little CD of some demos I'd made, on GarageBand. They were terrible, just awful, kind of mix of shame and hope. But he listened to him, and then he called me a few days after that and was like, "Hey, Galen, I listened to your demos and I hear something there. Would you like to write?" And I was like, "Yes."
God. Oh my gosh.
So he invited me over his
cool.
house, and I'm actually filming a music video with him tomorrow.
You are
at his house,
oh
and we're
gosh.
giving little clips of us writing because, some of the songs we wrote ended one of them ended up going viral in China.
That's fantastic.
So I feel like Roger Cook has been one of the biggest gifts of my life.
Absolutely, no doubt.
And kind of an unusual intergenerational combo of just the age difference.
I hope you can get him on the show with us.
I'm sure
you
he'd
both
love it.
come back.
Oh, you would love talking to him.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
You got to talk to him. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. Okay, we just found out that Peter Frampton has a studio right behind us.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Let's get them
That's
together.
epic. Oh,
Peter
yeah.
Frampton and
here
Roger.
we go.
And,
Things are happening. Let's go.
This is great. This is great.
So fun.
I was at a Berry Hill City Council meeting last week, and there's Peter Frampton. And
So Pete.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
So what a serendipitous thing that your grandfather would wind up on a transcontinental flight with Roger Cook and hook you up.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It is crazy. I've thought about it a lot.
Wow.
The biggest breakthroughs and gifts in my musical journey were never because I was so clever or even working so hard. There's people that are more clever and harder working than me.
Talk about
but
grace.
stuff like that. Yeah, it just
That's
I didn't.
so good.
That was a total gift.
Wow. Well, I'm going to take a quick break and talk to the folks about something here in just a moment. But I want to come back and talk about more of the songs, talk about Sleepyhead, talk about China just a little bit, and about what you're up to.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. What would it feel like to have 52 weeks of access to the right people in Nashville? People who've been making music for decades. People who can answer every question that you have about what pro-level music making is all about. Well, you can get that and more by joining NCS Community. Our community is a group of worldwide dedicated Christian songwriters who want what you want, to glorify God with your gifts and to get your music out there. I hope that you'll consider joining NCS Community today. Okay, we're back and we're talking with my friend Galen Crew, who has had a pretty incredible songwriting journey. Grew up here in the Nashville area, which is unusual for musicians that you meet around town, and had a serendipitous connection through his grandfather with British songwriter Roger Cook, and that opened up a world of music for Galen. And so I want to pick up with you, Galen, talking about kind of how you started to approach your songs. I kind of call them fairy tale or fantasy. They're like movie scores. I could see anime depictions. You have the Sleepyhead. You've got that animated video. I want to talk about that. Tell us how you got interested in going that direction. Was that inspired with Roger, and or how did you wind up not writing the straight ahead modern worship kinds of CCM? How did you sidestep that?
I love that. No, yeah, I think a lot of what inspires me the most is it's not even in the realm of music. It's more, the sweet spot for me when I get really just lit up in my own head is stuff like Lord of the Rings,
of course,
or C.S. Lewis, or the fairy tales that Hermann Hesse wrote, a German writer in the 1900s. This kind of stuff just really, it sparks something in my head. And I just love the medium of using like fantasy imagery and fairy tales and story and these other worlds to first find the truths that are transcendent, but finding them through a vehicle like that is just filling your mind with beauty and inspiration. It's such an imaginative, rich connection point for basic truths of the world and humanity,
like myths.
And myths
are they're not untrue, they're always true.
They're true. And digging through them and unpacking the symbolism and the truth in it, I just love that vehicle. And so it's like, can I do that with music? Use music and these similar fairy tale kingdom imagery to communicate more ideas and more truths instead of a just sort of straight on kind of a way.
Right.
I just love that approach to creativity, and so as an artist, that's why I realize I'm going to have to sing these things, because it's a little weird. Or it can be, I mean, it can be kind of dense.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful weird.
yeah. I mean,
it's pretty weird, like pretty weird.
Yeah, like sometimes like when I get pretty out there, I'm like, this isn't commercial at all, but it's fun. And I also just, for me, it's inspiring. It inspires me. And so one kind of fun challenge in my own artistic musical journey is like learning to live in that space that inspires me, and just thinking about, I love like analyzing Lord of the Rings and thinking about what is this, what's true about the true kingdom of God, within this story, and how did he sort of craft it to show you that?
Right.
And so that's kind of some of what I try to do with my songs, or but even I've also written songs that are I think of them in my mind as almost like short story fairy tales, like the lyrics.
Yeah.
And this is also where Roger Cook deserves a lot of credit. I've learned a lot from him about how to write stories, like songs that tell a story, because he's really, really good at it. So like a song like Sleepyhead, he was the driving force of just that, the sequential lyric.
So you did co-write that with him?
With him.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And was that the first one to go viral?
It was, yeah.
And in China?
Yeah.
Not so much here, but in China. How did that happen, and how's that changed your life?
Yeah, it's definitely changed my life. I mean, for a while I was pitching my artist catalog in the Christian space and almost did a Christian deal, but it's too kind of off center for the Christian radio and stuff.
Your style of writing.
Yeah. What my artist stuff was at this time.
Right.
But that was really what was inspiring me the most. So I was actually in this kind of was a bit of a low place of trying to I thought once I realized for me, now just talking about as an artist, because I still love writing and producing in the CCM space, but for my artist stuff, it's like, okay, it's not going to fit here, and I don't really know where it does fit. I was in the middle of figuring that out and kind of discouraged, like not sure what my next step would be. And I had put out a few albums just independently, and one of them was this acoustic album that had a song called Sleepyhead on it, which is itself a fairy tale that Roger and I wrote, kind of a weird song. But I started hearing from people in China that this song had gotten really popular. And the reason it's strange, and not a lot of people know this, but our internets are completely separate, the U.S. and China. So China has its own platforms.
Interesting.
And a lot of the U.S. platforms are blocked in China. They don't.
Right.
So like their social media, their two biggest music platforms are NetEase Cloud Music and Tencent. And at the time, I wasn't familiar with these platforms. And there used to be another one called Xiaomi, which so I started hearing from Chinese teenagers who were like getting, they were finding me on like Twitter and stuff occasionally. And sometimes they were even Chinese that were in other countries, which was interesting. Ethnic Chinese from like in Canada or Europe or something.
Right.
And they would find me and they'd be like, is this the real Galen Crew page? Like they thought my social media was fake because I didn't have any followers.
Right.
And I was like, it's weird that they're asking. And that was happening more often, but I wasn't getting any revenue, no increase in my social media here. So I was completely unaware that anything was going on until one guy sent me a link and he was like, do you know your song has more plays than Justin Bieber's new song on this Chinese website? And I was like, what? I just felt like somebody's, it felt like a joke.
Somebody was
like,
punking you,
It's not real, But I clicked on it and it was like, millions of and somebody had already created profiles for me on some of these Chinese like social media sites. And I was like, what is going on? Like I said, I'm just like in my room, probably with a bag of chips or something. I don't think I had a bag of chips. But just paint the picture of like,
no shame,
I wasn't doing it.
No judgment, yeah.
But like, so I was just pondering this, like, why is this, what's happening in China? It was so off the radar.
What year would this have been?
This was like 2015.
Okay. So it's been a minute, about 9 years ago.
Yeah. And it was only increasing. And then by the end of 2015, early 2016, I had shifted my perspective to like, I'm gonna go try to figure this out. Like, it seems like something's happening in China, and I'm gonna pivot my attention and just see if I can, I don't know, like find out what's going on and go to China. I'd never been to China.
Wow.
So I'd never been to Asia,
Right.
And I had to talk to some friends of mine and go, hey, I think something's going on with my music in China. I don't know. Like, can you help me? What should I do? And that set me off on what has been just the best adventure of my life.
Wow.
I've now done 4 tours in China. And, the first one I did, I was just showing up. I had no idea if anybody was going to come to a show, because just because you have a song that goes viral, and even when I was my first trip to China, it was still going viral, and I was just trying to navigate like harnessing that, or a lot of people in China have told me people know my song in China, but I've never heard my name. They don't know it's me. They're like, oh yeah, I've heard that song.
Right.
And so I was trying to just merge those, and just by having a presence there physically. But the first tour I did, people came to the shows and even knew the lyrics to some of my deep cuts, And so I was like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, I've never played a show for people that already knew my music. I was used to trying to prove myself.
Right.
And, it feels great when they already like you. So I did 2 tours in 2016 and then another in 2019, literally right before the pandemic popped off. And then I did a 4th tour earlier this year.
Wow.
And this tour I did this year was the best one by far.
Wow.
It was so
Did
awesome.
you do multi-cities?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people were in the crowd, and what did that feel like to do that?
So I'm doing like clubs. So, the crowds are between, it's kind of like I don't know what the seating is for a venue like Exit In, but it's kind of those types of venues.
So it's not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people.
No, and that's one of the things. Like even when you have a lot of streams, and I think we've crossed a billion total streams in China, like across all songs and platforms.
Congratulations!
But thanks. But that doesn't. There's still a lot of groundwork you have to do to get people to come to shows and stuff,
right.
And
kind of
so,
like here. I mean, that's not
like
very
anywhere.
different from here.
So yeah, I mean, you know, I'm gonna keep building and keep going as much as I can. But yeah, this latest tour was like clubs, and one time I did a college, campus. That was fun, and yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, have you been able to harness the revenue stream from that with it being China and the difference between there and here? And
yeah, it's so sometimes I feel like I'm Lewis and Clark, like taking a machete through the woods because I don't have like
trying to
a
negotiate
model.
and
I'm like it's a little bit of that pioneer mentality. I don't know how to do this well. Initially, when the song was really going viral, I wasn't getting it because somebody had pirated it, and I didn't even mention that part of it. But somebody had pirated my song and uploaded it to these Chinese platforms.
Yeah. I was wondering how it got there.
Yeah. Sorry, that's how it happened because it was without my knowledge or consent initially. I mean, now I'm thankful that, of course, but I ended up now I have a direct relationship with NetEase Music and their team there. They've got a great team. And there's a guy named Matthew Daniel that's kind of spearheading that, kind of just improving relationships with independent artists who have had similar things happen. There's several other guys like me who didn't really have an audience in their home country but had a song go viral in China. And so it's getting better now, like it is monetized. And now Chinese streaming platforms don't pay as much even as like our streaming platforms.
And
so
our
like
platforms pay so much.
So much, yeah. You really, I think you still have to go there and connect with fans and connect with people to really make the most of it. But I'm learning how to do that in real time,
So you're like an ambassador in a way, or Lewis and Clark, just slashing your way through the jungle to pioneer some of this stuff.
To figure that out, yeah.
Do you see yourself doing this for the foreseeable future, just continuing to go down this path and continue to tour in China?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll continue doing it as long as I have an audience there, and as long as they're interested, in kind of following me and connecting, with me, and that relationship continues. It's been beautiful so far. I mean, I'm so thankful for these people.
How do you find the people? Are they warm and encouraging? Do they like Americans, or do they hate us? Or?
They do. Oh, they've been so they've been. Man, I mean, I've experienced more anti-American sentiment in Europe than I have in China. Chinese people are so warm, so humble. And genuinely interested in what I, as an American, think of their culture and their food. The food's wonderful.
Really?
The food is fantastic. That's one thing that.
It's good to hear.
Oh, it's just it's awesome. I always look forward to eating there, and it's been great. And I've started speaking a little bit of Chinese, and there's when I was just there earlier this year, I brought a friend of mine named Ian Kilpatrick, who's an American from California, but he's fluent in Chinese. So the two of us up there, a couple American guys, sort of making our way, speaking to them in Chinese, which if you start off your show, addressing them in Chinese,
love it.
They it's like instant love because they're not expecting you to even go to the trouble. They want to show you they can speak English too, but I just like honoring them in that way to address them in Chinese initially, and to just say a few things before I hit my ceiling of what I could say, and then I'll go back into English.
All right, say something for us.
"大家好，我叫盖伦." That's just hello everybody.
I'm Luke Skywalker.
I'm Luke Skywalker.
You said I'm Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
that's what you said.
Yeah,
I heard
exactly.
It.
You noticed. You got. So I'll just little things like that, and just learning certain basic stuff, food, but my friend Ian, he's fluent. So when we were up there together, So
he's on stage with you.
He's on stage with me, and he, between the two of us, there's not as much of a gap as you would think. And most of my lyrics are in English anyway. I've written one song in Chinese, 我知道你的名字, which is I Know Your Name.
Is it out?
It is out,
okay.
yeah. And I wrote that in Chinese for them, like as just a kind of a gift to them in their language. But all my other songs are in English, and they love it. They follow along, sing along.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so it's the coolest thing. I'm so thankful for that relationship with China. I'm always trying to represent America well, while I'm over there, and just kind of, I think these just love and friendship between our peoples is never a bad thing.
Galen Crew, an ambassador of love.
There you go. That's all right. Yeah.
I love that. Well, it's fascinating. And, despite the fact that Sleepyhead on your Spotify just has about 623,000, that's not bad streams, right? But to have
not a lot, is it?
Millions of streams in China. I mean, people are people. They're people that deserve to hear great music. And, you've accomplished something that so many people would love to accomplish with having 1 billion streams overall. So,
yeah, I mean, I think one of the cool things is it's helped me be able to encourage other artists who... Having gone through this myself and experienced something that was not on my radar and learning how to make that mental shift, it was cool because in the end, the music I was making that I did have a vision for that didn't fit in any of the traditional spaces I could see, a lane was carved out.
That's so cool.
A lane was formed.
Yeah, right?
In some ways, you could say by the music itself. And it's cool to see that because it's a sweet once you have an audience that is loving you for what you set out to, who you are.
Yeah,
it is cool, and so it's been just with the possibilities with the internet and with it's a big world. I think like if you can expand your mindset to I think a lot of times as Americans we're very limited in our idea of we have in our heads. Sort of an idea of if I do my music and if it goes well, it's going to look like this.
Yes.
And we've got an idea of what that is in our head. And you have to hold that loosely enough and be open enough that if something else happens is totally not what you expected, it doesn't mean it's not real. Like these people, that, and it can be difficult. When I saw those numbers in China, I'm looking at this website that's in Chinese, It doesn't feel real, but that's just because the ceiling was low in my own head.
Right.
It's very much real, and these are real people. And there's people in other countries are interested in different things, different styles of music. So you might not get the love you would hope for in your home country, but somebody else on the other side of the world might just absolutely go crazy over what you're doing. I just think those possibilities are exciting, and I just hope younger indie artists that are learning, coming up, or really anybody wanting to make music and put something new out there wherever you are in that journey. This is good to remind yourself.
Good news,
of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities.
The gospel of Galen, ambassador of love. I love it. No, it's fantastic. You have such a beautiful story, and I love what you've just said because we work with people from 15, 18 years old up to people in their 70s. I've worked with people in their 80s.
I love that.
Writing music.
Creating.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's so
and
cool.
On
I want to be like that.
Our NCS Collective, we have people that are young, 18, 20 years old, all the way up to me. And there's even one of our artists is in their 70s. So
I love it.
And we feel it's never too late to be who God wants you to be. And in the digital age, my goodness, we just have no excuses.
Oh, yeah.
So,
no, that's good, man. Yeah, I mean, why stop creating?
Exactly.
And Roger, he's in his 80s now. And as prolific as ever.
You got to get him over.
Impactful as ever.
You got to get him over. Roger, we're coming after you, buddy. Well, Galen, this has been amazing today. Love your story. Love introducing you and your music to the people that follow Nashville Christian Songwriters and the Song Revolution. And we do hope you'll come back and bring Roger, and maybe we can get Peter Frampton to stop by.
Oh, that sounds fun.
That would be amazing.
Man, nice to talk to you, John.
Yeah,
thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Well, everybody, this has been Galen Crew on Song Revolution. Go check out his website, check out his Spotify, all the streaming platforms. Just type in Galen Crew, and I think you'll find everything you need. Galen is a wonderful example of someone using his music in creative ways and not being held back by the system that we can kind of be locked into here in the U.S., but really impacting the world with creativity and with his music. So thanks for tuning in today. Check out NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'd love for you to join the NCS community and to take your songwriting to the highest level of expression, just like Galen has. So we'll see you next time on Song Revolution. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.